and a slow bubble gets away from the helmet. It rolls around the helmet, speeds up, and expands as buoyant bubbles do. The astronauts' air is provided in these power cords. That's why they float. The astronaut even has to hold it down so that it doesn't float up.
It seems more like an excuse to get out and show their other space trick, which is the faking of spacewalks in a swimming pool. In this vid, you catch a glimpse of someone wearing a scuba tank. Scuba tanks in space?
Yes, and proceed this way. Yes, and proceed this way.
Spacewalks are not real. They're done in underwater water tanks. All of this is fraud. Nobody is doing anything in space. All of the countries are bullshitting. The video is sped up, so it looks more natural. But yeah, they're underwater, and the video is sped up, and they do this on the Hubble Space Telescope as well. So that's how you know the Hubble Space Telescope never existed in orbit. Tossing some bullshit, and a bubble appears at 3:39 in this video. And it takes an odd trajectory because it's in a water pool. And then this thing pretty much stops its trajectory. I don't know how they make this. I don't know if it's actually there. But there it is spinning. It's not going anymore. Houston, we have a problem. Space is broken. There's the bubble in the pool that we just saw. Yep, doesn't even go in a straight line. It's in a water pool. Takes a very odd trajectory because the water is actually moving around. It's not still. Here's a woman in space, and her hair looks completely fine and normal. She has a cap over it. Nothing odd about her hair at all. Then you have freakazoids like Sunny Williams. She has her hair permed for this hoax. It keeps springing back into the same position, and her hair looks completely ridiculous. You see how this woman's hair is exactly the same in all of these pictures? This is a perm. Do you know what this woman is doing? She is pretending to be on an international space station. And as she bounces around all over the place in a zero-G plane, you're supposed to believe she's in space. She even lays down, and her hair does not flow in the air like it's supposed to. It stays fixated as a perm.
It's a little bit squishy, but everybody asks, how do you sit in the Soyuz? And you sort of sit in your seat like this. The seat is molded to your body, and so you can just sort of squish in here and be pretty relaxed. Everybody has a handmade seat.
And the International Space Station is ready for the event.
She holds the record for the longest single space flight by a woman at 195 days. The fuck is with the wires in the background? They're not moving. See those cords? They're just frozen. This must be like that green screen when the person in the background froze for a while. You ever see that video? This is like the same thing. It's just a still shot. The International Space Station is constantly moving. In order for it to stay horizontally level with the ground, like how you always see it, it has to keep fucking adjusting. So that it's not like it's just completely still and that those cords can stay like that. There's a lot of movements going on in the station. That shit should be moving around. Oh yeah, spin that wheel.
It takes a lot of time to prepare for these things, but luckily there's a team of people on the ground that are doing most of the work to get it done.
Expedition 33. Is she amazing? Is she a Freemason? Do they allow women to be Freemasons?
The EVA folks have developed. It's going to be great to have them up here. And
despite all of the movements that would have been going on with the International Space Station, that fucking cord has not moved. It's just a screenshot that they superimposed in the background. Fake ass shit. Yeah, you're so in space. Great flip.
That concludes the event.
Is she in space? Because she looks like one of the NASA astronauts. I think this woman might be on board the International Space Station. I think I've seen this before. This is like the women on the International Space Station. I never watch Justine. I think she's so annoying, but at least she works to prove that NASA is a complete fucking hoax. Yeah, we should check out her video and see how hair is supposed to behave in zero gravity. It is not like what you see with the female astronauts aboard the fake International Space Station. Yep, in space, hair is springy and it flows and it goes. It floats around, it doesn't stay fixated like it's a fucking perm. Is this where all the water accumulates? This woman's hair is complete bullshit. It's traveling through air, she's bouncing all over the place. It shouldn't be springing back into this shape. These people are working out to maintain their heart rate. See her working out? She's supposed to be working out. She has to do it multiple times during the week. And they tell you that she cannot shower. They can't even wash their clothes. They get burned up in a Soyuz capsule. It just gets incinerated in the Earth's atmosphere. So those clothes she's wearing cannot be washed. Look at her hair. She can't wash her hair. She cannot shower. A real woman under these type of conditions would shave her head bald. She would just do that. It would probably be recommended that she do that. But no, these women go on the International Space Station with a full set of hair and it gets permed. There are other women that do this. It stays fixated. It does not flow. And they have to maintain consistency. So they can't let their hair flow naturally on the zero-G plane because they'll take pictures like these. This is not on a zero-G plane. This is real world, on the ground. She's running around pretending she's exercising, and she has her fixated hair, so it has the illusion that she's still in space. That's why her hair is fixated. I mean, she could do this anywhere in the space station. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if she's next to a laptop or what. Yeah, she just puts the water in her hair, and it splashes, and it goes all over the place, and it's fine. Yeah, we could put water all over everything. Fuck the International Space Station. It doesn't need to be waterproof. Shit, we don't have to worry about space debris traveling at 17,000 miles an hour hitting anything and destroying everything because there's no airlocks. No, fuck it. This shit is, you can put water on everything, too. Sometimes she dumps her whole water bottle on the laptop, and it doesn't explode, and it's an experiment they do on the International Space Station. Sometimes they go out for a swim. They leave the International Space Station and they go swimming without their spacesuits because all their spacewalks are done underwater. And this is what she does to clean herself. Wouldn't you cut all your fucking hair off? Are you serious? You would go on the International Space Station with long hair like that? Give me a fucking break. Women would be bald-headed. Nobody would go through this sick existence on an International Space Station. They just would not do this shit. On another occasion, she must have gotten a separate perm because her hair isn't exactly the same in some of these. But yeah, her hair is permed when they do this bullshit. This woman is on a zero-G plane. She's not trying to trick you. Her hair flows through the air. She does not have a perm. And that woman on the International Space Station goes in all kinds of different areas. She even lays down, and her hair the entire time stays fixated into position. Her perm is ridiculous. And if the physics would allow such a thing to exist and for people to be in space, her hair would flow naturally through the air.
Here's another scene with Catherine Katie Coleman. Seems to be done in the suspended mode. Have a look at her hair. There's something odd about her hair. I know this is zero gravity and hair is supposed to stick out and go all over the place, but her hair doesn't really flop around naturally. It's always sticking out kind of rigidly. Maybe they permed it in that position, or perhaps they're hanging her upside down. As she shakes her head from side to side slightly, you can see the hair always springs back to a particular position with respect to her head. It should flop all over the place. And why is there a loud sound in every segment of the International Space Station? That's because no matter how soundproof you make it, you can't filter out all of the sound of the jet engines. An airplane is just too noisy. You can put noise-cancelling headphones on when you're on a plane, and that doesn't stop the sound from getting through. It muffles it. They also use microphones that don't pick up very far away. If you have a look at this scene here, you can see that when the microphone's in the middle, pointing towards the guy in the middle, you can't hear the sound of jet engines as much, but when the microphone goes to the guy on the side, you can hear the sound of jet engines a bit more. So you can't truly soundproof the inside of the airplane where they fake full motion mode. You can see in this scene from the recent National Geographic documentary Live from Space, Koichi Wakata is looking at the window there. This is full motion mode, and you can tell because of the sound of jet engines. In quiet mode, they can go to the cupola and they can look through at their model, and you can see an amazing model. Gee, why would you build the International Space Station out of a bunch of long, thin segments that can easily break at the joints? So there's their fairly realistic view of the rest of the International Space Station. The International Space Station was made piecemeal. They started off with one section and then they added another section. It consists of a bunch of tubular sections which are joined together. It's an ad hoc design. Here are a few scenes from the tour of the International Space Station that they take you on. And I noticed that there's no airlock between sections. This means if there's an air leak in one section, they will be affected in all sections. They're quite likely to all die. You could wear the spacesuit. That would work for a few hours until you had to eat. And then you'd have to take the spacesuit off and you'd be exposed to the vacuum of space and you'd be dead. The porous plate sublimator only lasts for a few hours anyway. Or sometimes they're tethered. Do they have tether points on the inside of the International Space Station? Not likely. They don't really design it with life in mind. You could argue that they all scramble into the Soyuz and try and get back to Earth in the event of an air leak. Well, that would be very odd. They would have to completely change and recalculate all of the re-entry parameters if you're going to cram all 11 people or however many people they have on there. They have many people on the station at the same time. You also couldn't cram that many people, all 10 or 11 of them, into the one Soyuz at the same time. They only ever have one emergency Soyuz escape capsule. You couldn't cram them all in. It's very odd that they're up there in this life-threatening situation where an air leak could happen at any time and they could all die, and there's not even enough lifeboats for them to make it back to Earth. Having no airlock in between sections is very odd. The more sections they add to the International Space Station, the more dangerous it becomes, and yet they don't care. They just add as many as they like. Lots of things could go wrong. They're on the edge of death every second, yet they act like giddy children with gay abandon.
The truth about NASA is they're doing nothing in space. I mean, you could type Earth from space, look at the images. You have computer generated. This is a composite with a background that doesn't go with it. Somebody added the composite to this just to make it look more realistic. This is computer generated. This is ridiculous. Computer generated. There should be thousands of pictures of Earth from space. This is an Apollo. This is supposed to be real. That's supposed to be a real photograph of Earth from space. But because of the satellites past low Earth orbit, there should be thousands of these. This is not real. Not real. When you type Earth from space and you do a search, you should be seeing thousands of real images of Earth from space. You wouldn't substitute that with computer crap or fake models or composite. Here's a composite. I mean, they admit it. That's not a picture of Earth from space. Yet it shows up when you type Earth from space. This is not real. This probably computer generated. More bullshit. That one is not real. Of course, you keep seeing computer generated bullshit. Here's a composite. Obviously, this is not real. NASA makes images for their Blue Marble series, and they admit that they're composites. There's a lot of these aren't even from NASA, and they're not real. Satellites. See all these satellites? If you look at the distance of GPS satellites and satellites in geosynchronous orbit, you can see that they can take pictures of Earth from space from that distance easily. And because satellites are old technology, there should be thousands of pictures of Earth from space by now. Plus, NASA has been doing work in the solar system for over 40 years. So why not take a picture of the Earth when you send something out? Like, why the fuck not? Nope, they don't do that. See, all of this is bullshit. If this shit was real, when you type Earth from space, you would see beautiful pictures that were real of the Earth. And it just does not happen. Even the Apollo images are not real. It's all fraud. The International Space Station is not orbiting the Earth. The Hubble Space Telescope is not orbiting the Earth. See, here's the thing about NASA, guys. They admit they make composite images of Earth. And even though they've been doing so much work in the solar system for over 40 years, and there should be hundreds of pictures just from that, like if you pretend all these satellites don't exist, they're still doing work in the solar system, right? There should be hundreds of pictures of Earth from space just based on all of that fucking work. And they don't exist, and they fucking admit their pictures are fake.
Last week, scientists at NASA released this.
You search images of Earth from space, you're going to see that image. I mean, why would you have fake images and computer animated images of Earth when you can have the real thing? So basically, when you search Earth from space, you should see all real images of Earth from space. Like, everybody thinks NASA does science, so why wouldn't you see that?
From data from NASA's
No, you get this,
which orbits the Earth about every 100 minutes, taking measurements of light coming off the planet. That can be translated into ribbons of imagery like this.
Ribbons of imagery. Why would you need to do that? Because there's supposed to be satellites past low Earth orbit. Why can't you just take a fucking picture?
And then into one of these. And this is just the latest in NASA's Earth from space.
Then you fast forward, we could go to the image that we just saw in the illustration.
Actually, they snapped a lot.
Okay, that's supposed to be real. That's Apollo 17's image of Earth. And they use it all the time, and nobody ever thinks about it. You're shown this. This picture is in every single science book. See that circle cloud formation? This picture is so distinctive. They use it on the covers of magazines. They still use it today. I saw it must be 3 weeks ago now, but I clicked on an article because it had this fucking image in it. They still use this picture to represent Earth.
A lot of pictures.
Yeah, all of those are supposed to be real. They're from Apollo 17.
The environmental movement at the time, it gave people the first...
So basically, when you search images of Earth from space and you want to see a real picture, you're going to see that, and you're going to see other pictures from Apollo. How long ago were the Apollo missions? And then you go to recent shit, like, what's it called? The Blue Marble 2012? It's a fucking composite. It's not a real picture. And they admit it. They tell you it's a composite.
At their home planet as a single entity.
That's supposed to be taken from a Hasselblad camera. It's supposed to be a real picture. And with all these satellites, they're supposed to be in the positions of the GPS satellites and geosynchronous satellites. They should be able to take pictures based on that fucking logic, and they don't do it.
In 1990, Carl Sagan made this Voyager.
Fuck Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan knew that NASA did nothing. I mean, that guy... Everybody adores Carl Sagan, and he's just like Neil deGrasse Tyson. You know how you have Neil deGrasse Tyson shut up your ass all the time? Yes, they know NASA does not do science.
Oh, until I bought an iPhone.
Here's that fucking picture.
Turned it on and kind of did a little happy dance.
This drives me nuts because they always show you the Apollo 17 picture of Earth from space. And here, they're using an illustration to use a... We're about to learn about this picture, but it's not real.
Even though until I bought an iPhone and turned it on and kind of did a little happy dance.
Simmons' job is...
It's primarily taking data and making pictures out of it.
That's what this is. A composite of data sets from several different instruments translated into a picture.
So she said composite. Now, when you search images of Earth from space, even though everybody thinks NASA does science, they're on the cutting edge of science, they're exploring the solar system. When you search images of Earth from space, you should see real pictures of Earth from space. And you're not going to see that. You're going to see composite after composite. You could go to the Blue Marble series. You're going to see composite after composite. And they can't even make you at least 100 images of Earth from space. They don't even bother making 50 or 20.
To us, the really cool thing was the data set. Up until that point, there was...
They go over this, and this happens to be one of the composites you're going to see all the time.
No realistic color map of the globe.
Oh, yeah, whatever. They're pretending they do fucking science.
Gap in between each orbit.
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Yeah, of course it has to be.
To sort of simulate the atmosphere.
Man, fuck you. There are no pictures of Earth from space. And this shows you that those GPS satellites do not exist. Because if those satellites existed, there would be pictures of the Earth from space. They would have the ability to do that. People need to look into what you're being told. You need to look at evidence because you're literally being lied to every single day of your life. Look into chemtrails. They're doing this in so many countries all over the world. Chemtrails shows you that countries do not have their sovereignty. Our world is controlled. You can look into this Ebola thing. It's staged. It's bullshit. It's just more of the same. Now, people are waking up to this shit, but this is not isolated. Like, people know about the Sandy Hook hoax. I mean, some people just stay stuck knowing about Sandy Hook. You need to keep investigating. You're being lied to about everything. Nuclear weapons do not exist. World War II was completely controlled. Adolf Hitler did not even commit suicide in the bunker. He was allowed to escape to Argentina. And he didn't, like, escape to where he could be killed. I mean, he was allowed to escape. The countries were working together. I mean, this is the sick fact. Our world is completely controlled. And you need to learn about Freemasons. You need to learn about the Jesuit order. Science, even science is controlled, and that's not how science is supposed to work. People trust science. People always talk about this and that when they're talking about science, and they think it's absolutely true because in science, when something is false, you throw it out like it's yesterday's newspaper. That's how science is supposed to work. It's supposed to all be true, and it's not. It's controlled. It's bullshit. Everything you're being told is bullshit. And when NASA makes the claim that they found life in the solar system in the future, they're going to make that claim. Everyone's going to believe it. This world is completely brainwashed. Billions of people are going to believe NASA when they claim they have found life in the universe. I mean, come on. Wake up, people. Snap the fuck out of it. Wake the fuck up. You're being lied to every day. This shit is ridiculous. Start looking at evidence and stop being lied to. I was watching Faces of Earth, Building the Planet, because I'm interested in geology. I have no idea where the Earth comes from because they're lying about the Big Bang. And they showed that tired-ass NASA model in this documentary. There are no pictures of the Earth from space. But when it comes to computer graphics, you know, they can make you pictures of the Earth. They can make you this video. But they don't bother making a model of the Earth. They use the same composite model from NASA that's on their computer. It's the same damn thing. They don't even bother making a model of the Earth. The clouds are exactly the same. When you type Earth from space, you'll see images from this model. They look real, but they're not supposed to be real, and they don't pretend that they're real. So you will see this model that was made on a computer. You will see it in documentaries as well, in video. And you might as well memorize the cloud formations on this thing. You're going to see it all the time. It's like a running joke with NASA. Here's the damn images you'll see repeatedly. You can type Earth from space. You'll see these images. You'll see them all the time on web pages. It's just never going to... They'll probably use this for the next 40 years at this rate. I mean, they've already been doing that with this image of Earth. This is from Apollo 17. And this is supposed to be real. That's why they use it all the time. They're going to continue to use this image in the future, though, because they still show it in news articles today. You can go on Yahoo News, you'll see this image probably every single month if you're on the page that frequently. I mean, I'm just shocked because they can make Earth, they can render that on a computer for their own documentaries, whoever's making whatever, but they just go to NASA and get that same shit, and they're going to continue to reuse it over and over again? Like, how lazy is that? Nobody's even making pictures of the Earth from space.
Released this. The shot is compiled from data from NASA's VEERS instrument, which orbits the Earth about every 100 minutes, taking measurements of light coming off the planet. That can be translated into ribbons of imagery like this, and then into one of these. And this is just the latest in NASA's Earth from Space album, which may be one of the most...
You guys heard me rant about this a million times already, but satellites are supposed to be past low Earth orbit. Look at GPS satellites. Look at geosynchronous, geostationary satellites. Look how far those satellites are from the planet. And they're old technology. They're old technology. That means there should be literally thousands of pictures of Earth from space by now, because the Apollo 17 image was supposed to be taken from a camera. And if they can have cameras in space, and they can have satellites, thousands and thousands of satellites, even past low Earth orbit, that means they can take pictures of the Earth, and there should be thousands of them.
Simmons' job is...
It's primarily taking data and making pictures out of it.
That's what this is, a composite of data sets from several different instruments translated into a picture.
And then people come to me and they say, you mean it's NASA is lying about all of their pictures of the Earth from space?
Where it was low, I colored it dark blue because they're low mostly in mid-oceans. And then where it's a little bit higher, it was like a little bit brighter green.
Then add the clouds back in.
There's a small problem with it because there's a very slight gap.
Small problem with it because we had to pretend we got this from orbit, so we had to pretend
some of those
there's
are
fucking
painted
gaps.
on.
It is photoshopped, but...
What did she say? What did you say, Chickadee?
Gap in between each orbit.
So some of those are painted on.
She said, so some of those are painted on. Why'd she say it like that? Is she in on this shit?
It is photoshopped, but it
is photoshopped, but it
has to be.
Then
there was another very slight gap in between each orbit.
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Then
there was another layer to sort of simulate the atmosphere.
And then there's this little bright spot.
It's called this.
There's the pictures of the Earth from space right there. That sums it all up. It's blue.
Then
void,
there was another layer to sort of.
Those are your pictures of Earth from space. Congratulations. They don't exist.
Simulate the atmosphere.
And then there's this little bright spot.
It's called the specular highlight. So it's the reflection of sunlight off of water.
Those are the pieces, but you can't just slap them all together.
It just didn't look realistic. It looks kind of flat,
realistic.
or the clouds are sort of too
like
see-through.
And we gotta sell this to the entire world.
There's artistry.
So we gotta keep working on the fucking
world.
thing. Final version. Now everybody buys it. It's a real picture of the Earth from space.
I've never been
You'll
to
see
space,
it your entire life.
I've looked at these images over and over again, trying to sort of get the essence of it.
It's ridiculous.
Like this.
We freaking went to the moon 6 times between 69 and 72. That's a 4-year period. Fucking 6 different times we went to the moon divided by 4 years. We went 1.5 times to the moon a year.
Pictures out of it?
That's what this is. A composite of data sets from several different instruments translated into a picture.
Yes, NASA does nothing in space. When you see the model,
there was no...
just know you're looking at a composite model. It's not a real picture of Earth. I keep telling you guys that there's no pictures of the Earth from space, but I don't really go over the Apollo missions. Now, those are supposed to be real, so why don't we check them out? This is supposed to be a real image. It's from Apollo 11. A little Easter egg if you zoom in on this thing. Maybe it's nothing, maybe it's an accident, but it says 666 in the clouds. Maybe it's nothing, maybe I'm just seeing things. Damn, my computer's going apeshit after that. I don't think the CIA likes me making that. Okay, this picture of Earth is supposed to be real. It's from Apollo 11. Isn't it lovely? I wonder if it still says 666 in the clouds. I don't know. That is supposed to be the horizon line on the moon. And that's supposed to be the Earth far, far out in the distance when you're at the moon. Here's another picture of the Earth, and it's supposed to be real. Unlike the composites of Earth that you see all the time, they won't say this was a composite. They'll say this image is from a Hasselblad camera from Apollo 11, and it's real. It is not a composite. That is supposed to be real. You know, it's funny, when they show you pictures of Jupiter sometimes, you'll see a hot spot of light on the center if Jupiter is completely illuminated, which it usually is. You'll see a hot spot of light, and then the light values gradually decrease as you go to the edges because it's a sphere. Yet when you look at the moon, it's completely bright on a full moon. It looks like a flashlight. That's what the fucking moon looks like. The edges are crisp. It doesn't even look like a sphere. But when they show you pictures from the moon, which are supposed to be real, there's a hot spot of light on this very small area. Isn't the whole moon supposed to be illuminated by the sun? What the hell's going on here? They didn't take flash cameras. And clearly this is bullshit. I mean, look how dark it is in this region. That's a hot spot of light. It's from Apollo 11. It's supposed to be on the moon, and it's bullshit. Okay, let's check out this horizon line. This is about as far as someone's fucking backyard. Is NASA trying to say the moon is flat and that's the edge of the moon? What the fuck is going on with that horizon line? These pictures are fucking stupid. And he's in the shadow, and you can see this motherfucker. Very famous image from NASA. Not even real. And the whole thing about NASA is nothing that they do is real. None of it when it pertains to space. They're doing absolutely nothing in space. That is supposed to be real. Shadows intersecting. Maybe they're in a crater. No fucking horizon whatsoever because they're on a fucking set. This image from Apollo 11 is supposed to be real. They look pretty cool, but they're not real. I mean, this looks like Star Wars bullshit. Supposed to be real! I couldn't get a detailed image of this, but it's supposed to be real. I couldn't get a detailed image of this either, but it's supposed to be real, and the Earth is in there twice. I don't know what's up with this picture, but NASA, this picture is retarded. And this is from Apollo 12, and that's supposed to be the sun. From the moon doesn't have an atmosphere, and that's the sun. There's the horizon on a set. It's really stupid. There's the spotlight, sun. Unless they took a spotlight to the moon. I don't know what they fucking did. NASA, did you guys take a spotlight to the moon? More spotlight, sun. More of the sun. Or spotlight if they took a spotlight. I don't know. Here's another picture of the Earth from space. And yes, this is supposed to be real. They will not tell you that this is a composite. This is supposed to be real. More Earth pictures from Apollo 12. Not a composite. That's supposed to be genuine photography. Supposed to be genuine photography. And here we are on Apollo 13. Is this why Russia quit the space race? Because we didn't go to the moon on Apollo 13. We didn't get to walk on the moon and plant a flag. So Russia got scared. They're like, oh my god, they couldn't walk on the moon 7 times. From 69 to 72. Since they couldn't do it 7 times and only walked on the moon 6 different times, we're not going. Fuck it. Fuck the whole operation. We quit the space race. That's great, Russia. Apollo 13, supposed to be genuine photography. Hasselblad camera, that is supposed to be real. Again, Apollo 13, supposed to be real, genuine photography, not a composite. Is it red on the edges? You can see the sun setting on the edge right there from this distance. Oh, wow, NASA. Apollo 16. We've already done this so many times within a very limited amount of time. But we had to go back to the moon because it's cool. I mean, you could be gay on the moon and nobody will know because you're on the moon. There's no cameras unless you're filming it. More from NASA, where they had to keep going to the moon to do their extracurricular activities, whatever the fuck they were. The famous Sickle Cloud Formation. It's famous and you don't even know it's famous. The Sickle Cloud Formation is from Apollo 17. That is supposed to be real, and although you can't see it, there's a Sickle Cloud Formation on the Earth. And there it is, the most used image forever, of all time, in all of human history. This picture has been used the most. And the reason being is because it's supposed to be a real picture of Earth from space, from Apollo 17. It's in every science book. You've seen it your entire life. And you have kids, these fucking kids will grow up seeing this image their entire fucking life. They still show it repeatedly in the news today to represent Earth. They're not even talking about Apollo 17. They use this as a representation of Earth. From 69 to 72, we walked on the moon 6 different times. And in 2022, it's going to become 50 years since we've done all this. And even though Russia was in a space race with us, they never sent anyone to walk and plant a flag on the moon. Even though we did it 6 fucking times between 69 and 72. And all the dumbass feminists out there don't have a problem with only men having been on the moon. Why doesn't anyone send a fucking woman to the moon? Why doesn't Russia get a team of women to go to the moon and plant a flag? We've demonstrated how safe it is. Now the 50th year anniversaries are coming up. And so you're going to hear about this fucking moon landing and our accomplishment over and over and over again in the news because they need to brainwash your ass so that you cannot think. This is so hilarious. The most overused NASA image of all time is still featured in the news today. Like, if you were to wipe the slate clean with NASA and start over, this would continue to be the most overused image from NASA ever. They don't care. They don't have to show you other images of the Earth. They just don't have to do it because nobody questions it. There it is. Apollo 17. Remember that show, the 70s show, and how old and stupid everything looked in that show, but everybody loved it? This picture is an equivalent of that timeline. That's how dated this fucking picture is. This is a fucking fake news article about some bullshit, and they're using this fucking picture from the 70s to represent Earth. It's 2014, people. NASA is going to use this image for the next 20 years in the news, and nobody is going to question it. They can continue to put it on magazines. I mean, this picture is in every single science book. It is fake as fuck, and they keep using it because it is supposed to be real. Unlike their composites, which they don't use very often, they use this one because it's supposed to be real. And nobody questions it, and it's so distinctive, you can spot it from a mile away. There's fucking Africa, and there's a Sickle Cloud Formation, and here you go again and again and again, and you can grow up looking at this your entire life, and your kids will continue to look at this fucking picture their entire life and never question it. Thank you, Yahoo News. Thank you for being fake as fuck. It's hilarious.